How's it going, everybody? Prad here again, back with another Dead by Daylight YouTube video. And today we are going to be doing top 5 killers who need a buff in Dead by Daylight. So this might be a little bit of a shorter video than my last one, but it will still be dense in information. If you don't know who I am a competitive Dead by Daylight commentator and caster, as well as a amateur competitive Dead by Daylight player, Dead by Daylight streamer, everything. You can catch me on Twitch in the description, as well as here on YouTube. I make these longer form videos. So before we start, just a disclaimer, this is all my opinion, and my opinion is based on which killers I think deserve to be better, which killers have the most potential to be better, and which killers just kind of have been left in the dust over time. Killers that have very obvious fixes and could really benefit from something that wouldn't take very much effort to fix from the developers, or killers that are like affected by things unfairly, I guess is a way that I would put it. So with that out of the way, let's get right into number 5, Ghostface. As the only pure stealth killer in Dead by Daylight, Ghostface honestly deserves better. He's an old design, but a very, very good one. However, he's been severely power corrupt as Dead by Daylight has grown over the years. How exactly he could be buffed is kind of a complicated problem. If you were to remove or lower the cooldown on his stealth, give it to him like Wraith has, he could just constantly expose everyone in chase with no counterplay, just turning his stealth on over and over until the survivor is exposed. If you make it too hard to reveal him, survivors will have a really unfun time playing against him, and his reveal mechanic already barely works. Here's what I would do with Ghostface, though. Now, this is just me thinking out loud. Maybe this would be a train wreck, but it seems like it would be really fun and make him stronger. I would give Ghostface pure, transparent stealth like Wraith, but only until he starts a stalk. Because the whole theme of Ghostface is that you don't see him until the last second. If he wants to M1 attack out of that cloak, it would probably go on a really long cooldown, just to encourage him to actually do the stalking playstyle instead of just hit and running like a bargain bin Wraith. So just a thought. I haven't really fleshed it out, but it's something that I think would make Ghostface stronger and more fun. Alright, moving on to number 4, we have the Hag. Hag is another killer that has been severely power corrupt. She is sorely lacking in a few different categories, like having useful add-ons, and the fact that she is 110% speed for absolutely no reason at all. She's also plagued by the longest standing bugs in all of Dead by Daylight, with her aura reading add-ons not working properly for multiple years at a time. Now, how would I buff the Hag? The Hag honestly needs a complete and total rework. Making her 115 would be good, that would be a start, but it would be a band-aid fix, and frankly not enough overall. This would be its own topic for a full video, but honestly what I would do with the Hag is give her a full rework and give her a rotating wheel of different types of tactical traps, sort of like Vecna's spell wheel, but all of her traps do different things. Again, that's a complicated concept, I would need to make it its own video, but that's what I would do to make the Hag stronger and more fun. Moving on to number 3, we have the Dredge. The Dredge was so close to greatness after his buffs last year. Multiple add-ons were made base kit with base kit numbers to his kit, or to his power. Unfortunately, he still suffers from the affliction known as being a Chungus M1 killer with no chase power. Now I know what all you Dredge mains are saying in the comments right now. Stop typing. Yes, Remnant is technically a chase power, but he moves way too slowly with it for it to be applicable on most loops against good survivors who notice that he's placed it. There's a distinctive noise when he places the Remnant. There is a distinctive animation. You can see him holding his arm out, and that is more than enough to tell any survivor that has more than 500 hours that Dredge is looking to make a Remnant play and I should hold W. Despite behavior continuing to add more lockers after his release, there are still many maps that have multiple gens that Dredge just can't access at all with his power. I think he needs another option to use in chase, honestly. My short idea for what we could do to buff the Dredge is that he should get another button to press while he's holding down his Remnant power. And when pressing that button, he would get some sort of steroid, but it would cost a portion of his Nightfall meter as an exchange for it being strong. I don't know, some sort of some sort of like attack, anti-loop attack, or maybe a steroid like Singularity's Overclock. I'm not really sure, but I think Dredge should have some sort of third option when he's holding down his power, something that's very strong but takes part of his Remnant charge away as compensation. Or his Nightfall charge, my bad. Just a thought, but the Dredge certainly needs some love. Number 2, the Skull Merchant. Nobody should be surprised to see her here. She was essentially taken out behind the barn and shot by the balance team, and it's pretty sad the state of her as she waits for her rework. At this point, I used to be a huge Skull Merchant hater. I was even disconnecting from games on site when she was in the 3-gen time, but honestly, at this point, just give her back her other scanline. She looks so sad with only one. That would at least hold what merchant mains still remain until her rework. And lastly, number 1 killer in Dead by Daylight who needs a buff, the Unknown. The Unknown is the new old hillbilly. If you haven't been around Dead by Daylight long enough to know that reference, it means that survivors love the Unknown. But they love him because he sucks, and he sucks hard. Don't get me wrong, I love the Unknown. His design is peak horror, he's fun to play most of the time, and he is absolutely perfect as a love letter to the found footage and creepypasta that defined the 2010s. But he has some seriously glaring issues that make him very weak, specifically against competent survivors. His first issue is that his projectile is far too slow. It is just too easy to dodge UVX at anything more than 12 to 15 meters away. The projectile slowly arcs through the air and then has another delay before it explodes on the ground. And any survivor that can press their A and D keys a little bit has a very good chance of dodging UVX at any significant range. His second problem is that his cooldown is too long on UVX for what the duration of Weakened is, and he doesn't have enough time to line up a damaging shot. So the way that UVX works, survivors getting around corners and then making distance away from areas that could be like hit through a wall on Unknown, it really delays the time that he can actually line up a shot that's actually guaranteed to land, or even somewhat guaranteed to land. If you wait for the perfect shot too long on Unknown, the survivor is going to get rid of their Weakened. The time that it takes to remove Weakened and the time that it takes to cool down a new shot on Unknown leaves him about 2.5 seconds to land a follow-up shot on a survivor who's actually looking at him, which is most of them. That's simply not enough time to hit such a slow projectile that bounces and a slow projectile that bounces and survivors can just not hug a tile to not get hit by. His third problem is his inconsistent bouncing. I cannot count the number of times that I have lined up a perfect UVX shot on a survivor only for it to hit a random twig on the ground or a blade of grass and just do nothing. It really needs to be ironed out. I know that it's supposed to be the bouncing projectile, but it's just a little bit too wild to be consistently fun sometimes. So his fourth problem is the reveal buffer window. If you've ever played against the Unknown and tried to remove your Weakened by looking at him, you'll realize that sometimes when you go behind a wall and you're not looking at him anymore, the Weakened removal keeps going for a little bit, 1.5 seconds to be exact. This is called the reveal buffer window, and it's one of the main things that makes him extremely difficult and frustrating to play against competent survivors. They can buffer this window by going in and out and behind things, and they're still revealing you the whole time, but you can only see them and hit them for a very small amount of time. So this reveal buffer window really needs to be changed. It makes it very frustrating and difficult to land UVX shots on survivors that know how to line of sight you, because even if they're line of sighting you, you can't see them at all, they're still removing Weakened. And his fifth and most simple to fix problem is that he can't actually look fully up or down when channeling UVX. Now, up doesn't really matter as much as down, because survivors have learned that the counter to getting hit by UVX is to simply run directly into the killer, because Unknown can't even look at the ground when he's channeling. This is just silly, it shouldn't be like this. It's counterintuitive to the theme of the game that running into the killer is what dodges the shot or keeps you healthy. So please just let him look up and down. So Unknown, we've been talking about him for a while now because he's the one that I have the most complicated thoughts on. He's the one I play the most on this list. So let's quickly go over how we fix him before I end the video here. Number one, let him look up and down. It's that simple. Uncap the angle that you can look while channeling UVX. Fix number two, let the UVX range and speed increase with charge time, similarly to Huntress. He should be rewarded with a harder to dodge, faster shot if he holds it down longer and aims it. Survivors would know it's coming because there's a sound cue, and this would eliminate the frustration of having a slow projectile arcing through the air and then a survivor just clicks their D key a little bit and immediately dodges it. Number three, the duration of weakened should slightly increase. Only slightly. He only needs maybe 1 more second to line up a shot. You don't want to touch this too much because you don't want him getting 2 bites at the apple per power, but it could definitely go up by a little bit. Fix number 4 would be to slightly decrease the cooldown of UVX, maybe a half second. So this change together with the last one, it wouldn't give him 2 shots on a cleansing survivor. That would be overpowered. But what it would give him is more time to line up a shot, and that's really what he needs in his current state. And lastly, cut the reveal buffer window in half. Like I said before, it's currently 1.5 seconds. It should only be at least 0.75 seconds. It does not make any sense that getting up in the unknown's face is exactly what you want to do on Survivor. It's antithetical to his theme, his design. It should actually be dangerous to remove your weakened. And then maybe we can stop calling him the Harmless on comp player streams. So that is how I would buff the killers in Dead by Daylight that I think need a buff. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.